Hello, I'm Councillor Daniel Fitzhenry. I'm the leader of Southampton City Council, and here we are on our third Grow Southampton podcast today. And it's a great pleasure to welcome Elaine, who has a aviation recruitment business here in the city, and we're having a great conversation. And of course, our podcast is all about encouraging and showcasing Southampton-based and Southampton-born and Southampton-associated people, showing how they've grown and started their business and the journey that they're on and all the things they've learnt and things they've got right and the things they've had to adapt or pivot is the word that became very popular in the pandemic. So, yeah, really great to be with Elaine today. Thank you for coming along. Good to see you.
Yeah, no, it's a real pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me here.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome. We're going to spend a bit of time, Elaine, sort of understanding you and your journey. And then really what we want to be able to do is showcase all the things that you've done. And so if there's someone sat listening that goes, I'd really like to start a business, or I'm growing a business, or why Southampton, or could I do this? All those things that go through your head. They listen to your words of wisdom and your experience and they go, yeah, I could do this too. Or other people go, do you know what, I'd really like to work with Elaine or support her as well. So hopefully lots of positives that come out of our conversation.
Well, yeah, you know, it's a pleasure to be here, and if anything comes of it, fantastic. You know, how great.
Exactly. So tell us a bit about you, Elaine, you know, you personally, your business, your story, and how it started.
So I was born in Southampton, and I've, you know, moved around a little bit, but I 3.5 years ago, I was working somewhere, and I've always had a bit of a desire to kind of run my own thing. Like I studied business at college, which didn't prepare me for what I'm doing now, but I have always had that kind of, it would be really cool. And then I was in a situation where I really wanted to just go and do my own thing. I am of that nature where it's not that I don't like being told what to do. I really love doing my own thing and not necessarily doing things in the same way as other people. So I actually struggled quite a lot in my career, in my early career, because I had such a desire to go and just do it how I wanted to do it. Yeah. So it was a really brave thing for me to do, but I would recommend it to anyone that is dreaming of doing it. Because my life has changed over the last 3 years. Good. And so I left a corporate job, brilliant employer locally as well. But yeah, I just went and did my own thing for a while. Felt I was quite isolated at first, and didn't know if it was going to turn into anything, didn't know if I was going to be successful, had no idea what was to come, because I started the business about a year before the pandemic started.
The P word, yeah, COVID, yeah.
And so yeah, here we are. I left my recruitment job, so I had experience in recruitment, and set up my own small recruitment business. Started to do it myself. Just did the very, very best I could, and it was going really, really well. I started to employ people, and it just felt like nothing could go wrong. And yeah, over the last 3 years, it's certainly been turbulent, being an aerospace recruiter, but yeah, we're still here. So that's really positive.
Yeah, absolutely. So you left a corporate role, the security of life, to follow your vision and dream and use that experience you had in recruitment. Were you in aerospace sort of aviation recruitment before or?
Yeah, so I was an aerospace recruiter. So, yeah. And I can only thank my previous employer for giving me the skills and the training to be able to go off and do my own thing. And so, yeah, I was in aviation recruitment before I left, and then continued to do, what I knew. And I couldn't be happier doing it, because what a great industry. Yeah. It's really exciting. There's so many interesting people that do engineer. Like, engineers are just fascinating. They're great to talk to. Everybody's different. They use different parts of their brain. Yeah. And so just talking to them about what they do is just so fascinating. And that's, like, I guess, where part of my passion for it is.
Yeah, and tell us a little bit about the roles then, you know, you're talking about engineering roles, but tell us a little bit about the roles that you're recruiting for, or maybe you've recruited, you know, over the last few years in your business.
So we do a range of roles. Like generally we do engineering, but we have, generally we do aviation, but we do come across like, you know, Southampton's a massive marine environment. So there's a lot of crossover in aerospace, marine, defence. And so we can diversify a little bit, but the kind of roles we would recruit could be from somebody that's designing a widget of a plane that makes it more aerodynamic and makes aviation a little bit more fuel efficient, or makes aviation a little bit more sustainable, which, you know, that's a character in itself. But then you can also recruit somebody that is in charge of selling a certain type of aircraft seating cover to an airline. Yeah. Or like, you know, people that sell amenity kits into British Airways, or, you know, design the plates that are on business and first class. So there's such a range of different roles. And most of the time when I say I do aerospace recruitment, people think, oh, so you recruit pilots. I've never recruited a pilot before.
Okay. Wow.
So
yeah. So everything but pilots?
Pretty much. So it's everything that goes from the design stage all the way through to manufacture. So that in itself is So that in itself is a massive industry. And then you've got the engineers that keep the planes in the sky. So if there's a light bulb out on, you know, the exit, on the exit runways,
in the plane, or on
the
aisle?
So in the aisle, so if there's a light bulb out on the aisle, it can be the smallest light bulb, but that light bulb could cost the airline £200,000 just by being on the ground, because that aircraft can't take off. Yeah. So there's a whole nother industry that's like aircraft on ground, and that's like a real like, get that bulb to the airport now. So that is a really, really exciting industry as well. So within aviation and aerospace, there's loads of different kind of and so I guess with engineers, if you're recruiting a certain type of role, you can build a really exciting desk just doing that. Yep. But then if you want to develop and grow, you can be like, okay, well, I want to learn about something else now. So let's build that part of what we do. So cool. I'm always going to be learning, which is very exciting for me. Yeah.
So I'm picking up, obviously, that you've got a real, I can sense the creative mind in you, but also the engineering type design and the detail mind there that you're deploying around all these things that not necessarily people immediately think of when you say aviation recruitment. So they're in, as you say, the broader aviation economy.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's like IT in aerospace and aviation is just an incredibly massive industry. So yeah, my granddad and my dad are both engineers. So
here we go.
So it's something that I've always kind of had a bit of a passion for. Yeah. But I've always been more of a chatterbox than a sit down and design something very intricate. It's more, what do you do? What do you do? What are you doing? Actually it's a real pleasure to do this job.
Yeah. So, and you've combined, like you say, that ability to be able to talk to people and build relationships with the engineering understanding and the interest in it as well. You combined all of that together to create your business.
Yeah. I would. Yeah. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And the name.
The name of my business.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm going to get you to say this because I can say it, but I want you to say it.
So Capilaux, and it really makes me smile when I say the name of the business, because the idea of the business, when I was coming up with the name, my friend said, well, you've got to make up a word. And I was like, what do you mean? And she said, well, you've got to make up a word. Otherwise, if someone puts it into a search engine, you've got to be at the top. And I thought, okay, well, that's a good idea. And then I had to come up with a word. And I really wanted to use the word auxiliary in it somehow, because auxiliary, has the IT kind of connection, and I wanted to do tech, that sort of thing. And it means helpful in Latin, which is like what I just love being helpful.
Yeah.
So auxiliary, there were a few variations that were already taken. One was an offensive Spanish rock band. And so I also, and we are moving into the farmer market this year as well. So at the time, that was part of my vision. And so the word capillary, auxiliary got combined, and the business is called Capilaux.
No, well, it's cool because that means something to you and has some, the Latin meaning of auxiliary and the helpfulness, and I can see that in your personality that you want to be able to help people, and that's driving you.
Yeah, and it's almost to my own detriment. Like, I am more interested in other people's business, like other people's businesses and how I can help and contribute to their businesses. And at the same time, I get to build my own. So, it's excellent.
I would say you've got a great asset, because the more you can help other people, the more the help goes round. So, that's good practice. And clearly it's working, because, and let's talk a bit about that actually, because you've obviously, you've made that strength of your character and that willingness to help other people has helped you grow your business, and you're living your vision and your dream, as you said. So what would you say to someone who said, well, what advice would you give me if I'm starting out, or I'm trying to scale, or I'm going to take the jump from a corporate job into running a business?
I would say, wow. So so many things. Like, if you genuinely do want to know how to get started, drop me a message. I'd be more than happy to have a chat and give you some pointers. But I would say, don't just take pointers from one person. Seek out as many mentors as you possibly can from all different areas. Yeah. And never stop looking for mentors in different places. Because I don't think I would have got to this point if I didn't have people that were helping to guide me whilst I was still able to make my own mistakes and do things my way. Having someone that has had experience in business, like that, has proved so valuable. And I can be quite stubborn and think, well, I'm not going to do it that way. And then I'll be like, oh yeah, they were right.
Stubborn entrepreneur. Now there's a new one.
That's funny, isn't it? Yeah. So yeah, seek out as many mentors as you can. Yeah. And just, if you want to, if you have a desire to do it, there is always a way that you can. Like, you can start a side hustle. Any employer, generally speaking, if you want to start something that's completely different to what you do, it doesn't compete obviously with your employer, but something that you want to do, that you want to explore, do that in your spare time. Even an hour a day, watching a little bit less TV, or, you can put that time to a little passion project on the side. Yep. So you get a little bit more experience in something that you genuinely care about. Yep. And then seek out mentors, see if it's possible to turn it into a business. There's so many programs in Southampton. I didn't even realise for probably the first couple of years, but since being here at the Eagle Labs, which is Southampton City Council and Barclays, it's a shared workspace. So here, everyone talks to each other, and it opens you up to so many different programs that help entrepreneurs. So seek out one of those places and those environments, because it's amazing, like, how much easier my life would have been in the first 2 years if I'd just come here to start off with. Yeah,
yeah, and it's always the great thing, isn't it? When you're putting these things together and you're starting an idea in a business, you realise after a while that everybody or somebody or lots of people have done the same thing you're trying to do in a different way, and you can leverage that learning.
Absolutely, and your eyes just open up to how big the world is and how much cool stuff people have achieved. Most of the people in here, you say, oh, I've got a problem. It's so unique to me because I do aerospace recruitment. And then someone goes, well, actually, it's the same as my business here, and we did X, Y, and Z. And then it was like, oh yeah, there's that problem that you've just solved for me. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it. And as a city, we create that environment of success, and we can get everybody flourishing.
Absolutely. And the bigger, there is a bit of an ecosystem where the bigger businesses, like we've got some big businesses here, and they always have time to help. Like they're at a different maturity level as, you know, we are a growing business and I'm excited to grow. But they're, you know, next level, and they'll always have 10 minutes to just give you some advice or help you. So it is a really beautiful ecosystem that the city has here. Yeah. Brilliant.
So Elaine, the killer question, I suppose, for someone in your sector or perhaps the event sector, how have you seen your industry change as a result of the pandemic or COVID?
Oh, wow. Well,
and what happened?
What a roller coaster. So I knew that starting a business would be hard. And it got to the end of 2019 and I'd built, you know, the foundations of what my business is now. And we were getting, you know, placements, we were helping people find jobs, and we were, you know, building up cash reserves in the business, which was amazing. And actually, I maybe got a bit cocky.
It happens.
And I thought, you know, this is going to be amazing. I'm employing people. So by that point, I had employed 2 people in January 2020. I had 2 starters. And we were all just, it was such a exciting time for an aviation recruitment business. And I traveled to Dubai to an air show when there were 11 cases of COVID in the UK and 11 cases of COVID in Dubai. And I thought, well, should I go? Well, I was like, well, there's 11 and 11. And I didn't know, that was in February, I think, February 2020. And so I went to that air show, and it was getting quite bad in Italy. And there was talk, and they were scanning you as you went in for high temperature. And then I got back, and then there was, I think it was Donald Trump stopped flights from Europe to the States. And from a financial implication across the aerospace industry, that was enormous, bigger than 9/11, from a, you know, wiping billions of pounds off the aerospace industry. It just disappeared. Like, that's a lot of business. So almost overnight, my business disappeared, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And everyone in the industry was just in shock. So I was talking to clients, kind of thinking, well, if I just continue to talk to them, then when we're out of this in a couple of weeks' time, I'll have better relationships. And then, you know,
a couple of weeks become a couple of months.
A couple of weeks turned into a couple of years.
Yeah.
And so what a whirlwind that is for, you know, me, who's trying to just build a business. I thought I was done for.
I bet.
But yeah, we managed to. So we had quite a bit of money in the business, because I hadn't quite gone and spent it all yet. Spent it all out of excitement. We had kept a lot of money in the business because I knew I wanted to grow it, and so we kind of made it through. And then the furlough scheme was a blessing, just because it meant that somebody that I'd just given a job to got to keep their job. And so we did use the furlough scheme, and, you know, hundreds of businesses, or thousands, hundreds of thousands of businesses have used the furlough schemes, and they have genuinely protected jobs. And then one of my aerospace clients was looking into buying sanitizer in bulk and reducing it down to small bottles that they can then sell into their airline customers, because the airlines were looking and exploring and asking for, like, right, okay, so what are we going to do now with the pandemic? And so I thought, well, I'm going to build a better relationship if I try and help. And so I kind of said, I'll try and find some bottles for you. And you could not find a small sanitizer bottle for love nor money in, what was it, March, April, May 2020. And I kind of joked and said, well, what if we what if we were to put it in a can? And my now business partner said, well, what if we put it in a can?
Wow.
And then we spoke to manufacturing, and they said, well, what nozzle would you like? And I thought, well, what do you mean? So we came up with a device that's basically like an aerosol can where you click the top of the can and it expels a sanitizer into a room. So that was, it was a real eureka moment. And I'd never worked in that industry before, and I'm pretty messy as a person. So my friends make a massive joke out of the fact that I now have a cleaning a company that sells cleaning products. So yeah, that's a bit of a running joke. But these cans really did help and give people reassurance throughout some of the hardest, years. Some people had a really hard time. They didn't see people for months and months. Like, what a hard time. And they had elderly relatives that if someone caught COVID in the house, they shouldn't necessarily. So yeah, our product gave people reassurance, which was amazing. And so that as a business was really, is really precious to me. And it did really, really well throughout the pandemic, and it kept the people that I'd employed because aerospace has taken an absolute battering. And so it is literally the pandemic pivot. That we and it's cliche, but it actually kept the people that I'd employed. Like, I have a responsibility to anyone that I employ to continue to pay them, like not their mortgages, but continue to pay them so that they can have the lifestyle they want. And so. But yeah, it was a lot of pressure to do something else, and actually, I wasn't able to. My business didn't exist anymore because there were no planes in the sky, and so we as a team did that, and then we actually added to the team there, but we added to the team in such a way where actually the people that joined the team had a history in recruitment. And so we kind of did a bit of a pivot back as well. So
well done.
We now have two businesses in completely different markets, and everyone's had an experience.
And how are you selling those products? I mean, that's pretty innovative. Is that online, or is that to business or business to consumer, or?
So we have a wholesale division which sells into like hotels and those. And so we used digital marketing.
So you built a whole new client base.
Yeah. So we sold into I'm thinking the RAC, Next, NHS
just a few
supply
people
chain. Yeah, so there are some.
Well done.
Yeah, there's some big old businesses, but a lot of schools actually.
Yeah.
Because there's just kids running around.
Yeah.
Kids
everywhere.
are kids, aren't they? So,
yeah.
So a lot of schools found it reassuring, and hotels, they like to kind of say, well, actually, before anyone else goes in your hotel room, you can bomb. We don't say sanitize a bomb, but
you can clean
the
it.
Concept, yeah. People enjoy doing it because it's a bit like Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Where you can click it and
boom,
leave. Well, it's not quite as dramatic as that, but yeah, they've done really, really well.
Good. No, I mean, that is not only have you created a business, you've then come up with an idea, you've innovated on the idea, you then launched the idea, you then sold the idea, made it profitable, hired people, and carried on growing. I mean, that's in the midst of a pandemic that, as you mentioned, didn't go on for a couple of weeks, has gone on for a couple of years. So that's great. Well done.
You say well done. I feel like it was a bit of a happy accident more than anything else. But I will take it.
Yeah, take it.
I'll take that and say thank you very much.
And these happy accidents happen, don't they? You know, when you're creating a business, stuff happens. Curveballs, unknown unknowns. And just really, I suppose, coming back to your aviation business. So you've now got obviously these two businesses that you're running. Yeah. And the world's opening back up again. Yeah. So what are some of the important things that you would say to potentially some of your clients, or even people that maybe not in aviation, who are recruiting? What are the key things when hiring, when recruiting people that certainly in the new world, people, employers should be looking out for?
Well, one thing employers have to be mindful of is everyone has worked from home now.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And so before the pandemic, I used to sing to my clients, if you let people work from home, your talent pool is going to, the talent you have access to is massive. So even if you let them work from home 1 or 2 days a week, people will travel further. So you get more people, more talent. Then the pandemic happened. And before the pandemic, clients were like, no, you've got to be in the office 9 till 5. Let's do it. Now people would have had to shut their businesses if they didn't work out a way their employees could work from home. And those employees now have that desire and the power to say, well, I've done it for 18 months. Why would I want to come back into the office when I, spend 18 hours a week commuting? Why would I do that? And so actually you've got a massive talent pool of really, really qualified, well-qualified people that won't come back to a 9 to 5 environment. And so employers that are struggling to recruit, they need to think about how they can allow hybrid working structures within their business, because that's where the talent is going to go. Talent wants that flexibility. They want the social aspect, but they don't want it 5 days a week anymore. They want to pop into the office maybe once or twice. But they don't want to be told that they have to be in the office all the time. And they've kind of come into their own power and said, well, I'm not going to apply for that job because, and then you're like, but please.
Yeah. You would be good. Yeah.
So my advice to anyone looking to employ, and there's a lot of people that are trying to employ people at the moment, especially in aerospace.
Yeah.
If you're able to allow home working, or if it's actually physically possible for them to do the job from home, because, sometimes you've got an engineer that is working with their hands. If you can allow some sort of flexibility, then that is going to propel you to have a really solid workforce moving forward into the future. That would be my advice, but it's not always possible for some of my clients in aerospace. They need somebody there looking at things, inspecting things, and physically need someone there in the office getting involved and building. There's also like that, building those internal relationships as well, isn't there? So that's an important one for employers. So it's finding a nice balance. What else would I say? People looking for jobs or people looking to hire?
Well, I think you've touched on it a bit. So let's broaden it a bit. You've mentioned obviously what employers would need to look to in terms of making sure that they can hire now in the new world. And what would be your approach beyond that to sort of making sure you've got, if you are an employer looking to recruit, what's the route to making sure you've got a biggest and diverse pool of talent as best as possible beyond sort of the flexible working?
So you want to you almost want to target people you're working with on a recruitment basis to give you those diverse options and to make sure that you're not discriminating. Just like you can automatically read a CV in a different way if a man's name is at the top. And so actually HR departments in businesses can remove the names and make it so that it's a gender neutral CV. So that the person reading it doesn't have a bias towards a male or a female. There's studies out there that say that if you get given a CV of a woman and a CV of a man, your perception of how much that person should be paid is skewed.
Okay.
And it's not anybody being consciously thinking, oh, those women don't deserve to be paid as much as men, because I think men agree that women should be paid equally. But it's it's like almost built into us now, where we look at something and would automatically think it's kind of built into how we do things. And so to change that dialogue in a business, you need to change the way you do your HR processes. So employers can do a lot in the HR function. So hiring managers don't know when they're looking at CVs, you know, age, gender, race, all of those things shouldn't be taken into account when you're assessing someone's suitability for a role. And, you know, if you work with recruiters, target your recruiters.
Yeah.
So I work in an engineering field, which is dominated by men. And we get some clients that turn around and say, well, actually, for every, like, we need X amount of CVs, but we want to see women, we want to see this, we want to see this. And we have to meet those service levels. So we have to hit a diverse pool of talent that we're offering our clients.
Yeah.
And I say, do more of that. It's harder for me, for recruiters, because sometimes actually there's not been enough females coming up through STEM subjects. And so now there's just a shortage. So it's harder for us, but actually to target people to bring you a diverse pool of talent, and they will do their best. So you can really drive those things in your business by the way you know, get your HR to look at things. So that would be
one of your suggestions. Yeah, very helpful suggestion. And like you say, does the job that you're seeking to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. So, Elaine, obviously in the UK, we want to be getting more people into engineering, into math and STEM and all these sorts of things, both men and women and future generations. But certainly from a female perspective, how do you think we get more women into engineering type businesses or aviation or the sorts of things you're doing?
I think it starts from an early age. So people will naturally give a girl a Barbie.
Yeah.
And they'll give a boy a Ken, like a Action Man or whatever. Yeah. But switching those dolls, like, you know, even just something as simple as switching those dolls up and changing the mindset of kids from a young age, and do it, like, you know, doing that through schools and bringing, you know, female engineers, bringing them into schools and really getting them engaged in the community, and championing STEM subjects, I would say is really, really key. There's a massive, massive shortage of women in aviation, and they are like gold dust. And employers in aviation love the way women think. Yeah, it adds to their, you know, it just adds a whole new level into their business because men and women think in different ways.
Yep.
And so actually bringing women and gaining them when they're girls, gaining their interest and their excitement for engineering when they're young, I would say that's where it starts. Because actually you have to be really well educated. Well, not necessarily, but you have to have a keen interest in learning about engineering because it's really complex. And so people need to go to university and choose those subjects. And for those women to start making those choices, it happens earlier. So I would say getting women interested in STEM when they are in this, you know, in school, and driving those programs. And there's some really great programs. I'll get, maybe we can share a link in the comments or something, because there are some amazing things out there. In regards to STEM subjects, etc., that are happening in Southampton actually, but also on a wider scale, getting women, you know, excited and interested in engineering. So there's things happening, but we can always do more.
Yeah, well, and on the promotion, you know, we can do any shameless self-promotion here. So, you know, in terms of plugging, we'll be plugging the social media platforms and all those things to follow. But you're right. It's in terms of getting people interested and bringing it to them early, isn't it? And showing the benefits, because as UK PLC, from a wide range, we want people to really enjoy these science and tech and opportunities that we have a lot of history at being good at, but the uptake and the number of people in the marketplace is not what's needed, and the demand is huge, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, if someone wants to be, you know, if they are driven and they're ambitious and they think, well, yeah, I want to be a lawyer or a doctor because it's a really well-respected profession, engineering is exactly the same. Like you can get, you know, really, really well respected jobs, very, very highly paid. And it's an amazing career. It's an exciting career as well.
Yep.
And so, yeah, anyone with a bit of ambition can kind of it's almost changing the mindset that actually it is for career focused people.
Yeah.
As well. So, yeah.
So let's talk a bit about Southampton. Obviously, you mentioned you were born here. Your businesses are here. Mm-hmm. What other than being born here, what made you choose to set up here?
Yeah, so I kind of moved about a little bit. So I was born in Southampton.
Yeah.
And lived here in my childhood, and then we moved kind of a bit further out. And I moved to Brighton for a little while, and just a few places, nowhere kind of far flung, but actually I did move around, and I found myself back in Southampton. And now I don't think I'd leave. Like, there's so much actually that goes on that people don't really kind of think about. And then hear what they're doing for entrepreneurs with this, you know, the Southampton City Council and Barclays Eagle Labs. That stuff is really, really cool. Very, very exciting. So I don't think, I'm planning to leave Southampton anytime soon. But like my family, my nan and my granddad lived in, have lived in Southampton for the last 60 years. So I'm kind of deep rooted.
Yeah.
But international aerospace business makes it really cool because I get to travel.
Yep.
I get to travel a lot, and I get to speak to really, really interesting people all around the world whilst being able to keep my roots here. So, yeah.
And that's that's a really good point, because that's one of the benefits we have as a city. You know, our connectivity is, well, obviously with the airport and the lesser number of flights currently, and we hope that the runway extension continues and the connections to the world happens. But, you know, like you say, you can be here enjoying this life, and then, you could fly out of Southampton to an international airport, connect anywhere and be anywhere in the world.
Yeah, I'm in Dubai next week.
How are you?
Yeah. So I'm in Dubai next week, and then probably Miami, and then Dallas after that. So
yeah,
I will be in and out of Southampton.
And what's taking you to Miami and Dallas?
So aviation is very international because airlines will fly to somewhere else and they need engineers to check and fix the planes. And so they have like trade shows, which it makes sense for us to go to connect with potential clients, which I guess helps with bringing business into Southampton's economy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, it's a real perk of the job being able to travel.
Wow.
And a blessing now, because obviously we haven't been able to do it for so long.
Yes, and that's the nice thing, is being able to get back out to doing it. And just on that, we have a twinning with Miami, which we have as a city, which we haven't really explored enough. And one of my sort of ambitions for us in the next few years, well, it will be it's on my work program at the moment, is to really build that relationship stronger with Miami from the cruise point of view, of course, and as a port, but also from the buildings and the greening and the whole experience. And you mentioned obviously about the aviation piece, but of course maritime is incredibly important as well, and an engineering background there. So it's you find this all the time, don't you? The incredible things going on in this city with other partners around the world. And here we are having a conversation about something I didn't know you did.
Yeah. With like maritime really steals the show, doesn't it? With Southampton, but there are so many aerospace businesses, in and around Southampton and the South Coast. They all trade like internationally.
Yep.
A business that's local, they supply parts to, like, if a plane needs a gadget, they can ship it within a day to Singapore or wherever it needs to go. So it's quite it's quite an exciting industry, and it's so well connected. The world is now so well connected that exciting things can happen.
Yeah, and it's all about creating opportunity, meeting with people, and that's what we call ourselves, the City of Opportunity, because we want to create a place where people can do exactly what you did, hit a challenge and then pivot and then keep growing and build those international partnerships.
And it doesn't happen everywhere.
No.
It really doesn't. So yeah, I would be waving up my hometown flag.
Good. Well, when you're out there, mention Southampton. Do a few little posts for us on LinkedIn and Twitter and social media, and we'll retweet you or relink you and Instagram, and we'll support you in that, because well done for that.
I do say, like, I'm from Southampton, and they say, is that near London? And I say, well, it's. Well, if you're in America, you think everything's it's London, isn't it? Yeah. And then I kind of say, well, it's actually where the Titanic left from. Like the Titanic was there, and they're like, oh right. Yeah. And that's there's so much history here that actually you can have such an engaging conversation about this city, and rumors I've heard of when the Titanic left, there was actually a bit of driftwood in the sea, apparently. Okay. And this could be a rumor. I'd love to be proven right or wrong. If anybody knows, comments when we post this podcast. Yeah, but I've heard that there was actually a large bit of driftwood that actually would have damaged the Titanic, so that it would have had to have stayed for a few more days. But just as it was leaving, a small boat pulled it out of the way. Wow. Of like a tugboat or something, pulled out of the way so that it could continue on its voyage. But it's almost like, actually, if that happened, would the story have been the same? Would the iceberg of Mu, all the ifs that come with it? Well, yeah, absolutely. So there's so much history here that actually, when I explain where I'm from, it's a real spark of a conversation. And that is the beauty, and a lot of what we're trying to do as a council and as a city is really showcase that history, that heritage, put it on the world scene, be really proud. And I could talk for hours about all of those things. I won't, because this is about you. And so what's your thoughts on what your business will look like in 5 years' time, and what will the aviation sector look like, do you think, in 5 years' time? Oh, wow. I think sustainability is big. Airlines are really, really taking note. There's some really exciting things happening with different types of fuel. Hydrogen. Well, absolutely. So I think, sustainability in aviation is just going to be massive. There's some really good things happening there. I would also say it's going to be bigger. Like, there's pent-up demand. Like, even at, conversation with your friend level, I can't wait to go on holiday. Yes. Like, I can't wait to just get away, and have that break. Yeah. And so there is real pent-up demand in the travel sector, which is just people are going to have to bear with the airlines. Yes. Bear with getting a ticket. Well, yeah, absolutely, because there are some airlines that are full, and they've reduced their schedules to meet demand, and actually to get back up to the scale it was, it's going to take some time. So book your holidays now. Yeah, that was a plug, wasn't it? Book the holiday. Book your holidays. So aviation in 5 years' time could actually be twice as big as it was before. Wow. And for it to grow, all the projections, it was growing and growing and growing, but then it. And so now it's building back up to where it was, and that's probably not going to happen until 2024, 25. And so getting back to where we were, but then also allowing for what it would have been. People love travel. So, God, who knows? It could be bigger and better and more sustainable, and it's still going to be an exciting industry for not just 5 years, but for the next 10, 15, 20 years. Who knows? We'll probably be for Futurama, flying in. Going to the moon. Oh, wow, yeah. Living on the moon. Well, you've got autonomous. You've got the UAV piece as well. So actually we might end up with, like driverless cars. We might end up with pilots in a different sense. They're sitting at a computer monitoring something that's picking you up and taking you somewhere, and no one's actually flying the plane. Yeah. Where is everyone? Yeah, exactly. So, and it might be that actually it's more like this room. You can sit down, and there's some really innovative ideas coming out of the design industry at the moment, where there's room for yoga and really cool in the plane. Really cool concepts. Yeah. So like a little yoga area, and then If you want a really affordable seat, then actually it can be a bit like a bus where you've got like just a little, if you're going on a short distance flight, it could be like a little, it's not actually a seat, more of a leaning pad.
Wow. Okay.
But for people that can't afford travel, that might open up a world of possibilities for them.
Yeah.
Because it could then become a lot more affordable because of the capacity and things like that. So there's loads and loads of stuff that could happen, and there's a lot of regulation. Yeah. It's got to be safe. Yeah. And so there's a lot of stuff that is being designed now that will reach the market in 5 years' time. But yeah, either way, it's very, very exciting. And hopefully my business can, run alongside that, helping aviation businesses to find those talented engineers, those software developers. And I hope to move into marine. And, we've got we're moving into pharmaceuticals.
Not much going on then.
Just, anywhere that someone does a engineering job. And, there's jobs out there in engineering for absolutely anyone, any skill set. So if you are interested in engineering, then learn a bit about it and start applying.
Yeah, no, well, that's great, because that's exactly what we want. As a city, we've got people who are academic. Some people want to follow academic routes. Some people want to follow hands-on routes, engineering. Some people want to follow a mixture of the two, academic and hands-on. Some people, a bit like me, I sort of had a little bit of education post-college and then go and start a business. But we want we want an environment where whoever anyone is, they can flourish. So that's what's really important in this city. Yeah,
like be who you want to be.
That's exactly it. Be who you want to be proud of who you want to be. And as a city, we can be who we want to be as well.
Absolutely. Like if you want to change your life, you can.
Yep.
And it's one of the most profound things you can do. I've never been happier as a human being running my own business. And so anyone that has that little spark where they actually want to, it's a lot of responsibility and it can be a lot of pressure. But anyone that's got that little spark that wants to do their own project and wants to own something, even if it is just own a project for a short period of time, and that's a magical little thing you've done, then do that.
Yeah.
And see where it takes you. Because if somebody said 3 years ago, when I didn't really have the confidence I have now, in that actually all of the sequence of events that led up to me leaving my corporate job were meant to be, because it pushed me and forced me to grow. So if someone said, Elaine, to the Elaine 3 years ago, you'd employ eight people. This is what you're doing. This is the areas you're working in. You're now working on a third business. I'd just be overwhelmed, and I'd be like, I really don't believe you. But you could, like, now I've got to come up with bigger goals. Like just to now, there's a lot more possibility. I see a lot more possibilities for myself. And I would love for anybody watching this who wants to do it to just go and do it.
And thank you, Elaine. That's great.
Sorry, so much enthusiasm.
No. So in conclusion then, Elaine, we've covered an awful lot of ground, and you've talked really eloquently and passionately and excitedly about your journey, about what motivates you, about the opportunities. What's just in final bit about Southampton? How do you think Southampton can grow, and what are the opportunities for the future, do you think, for budding entrepreneurs? Either got a business or growing a business, or have maybe been in a family business and they're taking on the reins from someone else?
What opportunity is there? I think the opportunities are endless. I really do. I think the way you look at things is really what it's all about. Where, for example, the second business that I now have was born out of a situation where actually a lot of people just resigned.
Yep.
And I'm not saying it's, I was there. And so the way that you look at things, just look for opportunities, like having a conversation with, how we ended up doing this together.
Yeah, opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. Me and James work in the same space. James is involved in the production of this podcast.
Good old shout for James and Shogun.
Yeah. Go on, go on, James. And so me and him got talking. And we get really, really excited about business.
I can imagine you two
talking.
talking.
Me and him talking about like business and cool things that we can do, and you know what we can do in Southampton, and bringing people together in business in Southampton. That conversation led to this opportunity, and then this conversation, someone might watch and think, well, let's talk to her because I want to start my own business.
Yep.
And that business could be the next Tesla.
Yep. Yep.
So it's all of those things. If you look for tiny signs and events and opportunities, like take them, because you never know where they could go.
And there's a great saying on that by Wayne Dyer, which you probably might have heard of, that says, you know, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Yes.
And it goes back to Einstein, you know, that sort of principle of the universe is full of opportunity. They're there all the time. And we're all guilty of it. Stuff goes on. But this city's full of it, you know, and it's what excites me on a big scale, going, we can really change people's lives. Like, you know, you're an example, and I'm so pleased for all the stuff you've done, and well done for everything that you've done in the team. But that's a story of real life pivoting, of growing, of developing, of coming up with ideas and being passionate, following it through from idea to creation to drama to out the other end, and here we are. So, you know, that's what we're about as a city, and I see our job as drawing more of that out. So it's great to see that you're living and doing it day in, day out.
And you know, I can't wait to meet more people that do the same thing that you know, the same thing that I do, or their version of it. I used to look at people like what I'm doing now and then be just breathing with jealousy. And actually, I read a book recently that reframed the way I saw jealousy, in that actually that's an emotion that is telling you what you should be doing and what you want to be doing. So if you are jealous, explore that. Because actually it's a sign, it's giving you a sign. It's a really positive emotion. Although, you know, you really do, it's considered a negative emotion. Think about it positively. If you're jealous of that person traveling the world, then explore why that is. Because it might be that actually you have a desire to travel, or you have a desire to start your own business, but you don't want to do the same business as, you know, what I'm doing. It might be you want to do something else that lights up a fire inside of you. So use all of the emotions, look for opportunity in them. I would say.
Well, and I suspect you and I could have a long conversation about emotional intelligence and turning them around, and I'll be fascinated to know the book. But I think we're probably, Elaine, unfortunately, just come to the natural end of our time. But I know we could be here for 4 hours and carry on all day long.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on the show. Like, it's been such it's a dream come true. Like, it's my hometown, and for me to be sat here talking to yourself, that's incredible. So
yeah, no, it is great, and for me, you know, I have the pleasure, like you, of living my dream life. You know, my entire mission is about creating this environment of success, this city of opportunity, so people can do what you're doing, what I'm doing, and you know, and carry on and leave that legacy. So that's it for the third of our series of Grow Southampton. It's been really great to see you, Elaine, and
I can't wait to see the others.
I think we'll keep plugging them. But thank you all for sort of listening in and tuning in. Hopefully it's been really helpful in terms of Elaine's story and the journey and the things she's doing and everything that's going on. And you can follow us on social media platforms. You can check out what we're up to. You can keep listening. You can keep going backwards and forward and getting these little nuggets. And as Elaine said, drop her a note on maybe LinkedIn or what platforms are you on? All of them?
No, it's LinkedIn, really.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn. Yeah. If you are on LinkedIn, connect. If you want to ask me anything, go ahead.
Yeah.
And I probably can't answer the question, but I can point you in the direction of someone who might be able to.
Yeah. So, you know, let's listen in, check in with either of us. If you want to contact us about any of the details, Elaine will be there. But thank you very much for listening. Let's keep doing the great work we're doing. Get Southampton moving, push this city forward, get us on a global map, really show who we are, and let's have lots more examples of you, Elaine, because it's been really exciting today. So thank you very much for coming along. Thank you all for listening, and keep safe, keep growing, and get Southampton moving.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
You're welcome.